Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, Jineea Butler of the New American Perspective here on Millennium News 24. It is great to see you today. Great to see you. Now, you know we get right down to business. We got a strong hour ahead of us. I got a lot to talk to you about, and I want you to begin to start back. Get on Facebook Live with us. Get on Roku. Get on Amazon. Get on whatever medium you're on, because we are on whatever medium you are on. Apple TV, across the universe, around the world. We want to hear from you. Okay, so first of all, let's start here. Is there a Trump recession happening before our eyes, good people? Is there a Trump recession happening? So you know that there's a lot of stuff going on with President Trump and the administration and everything that's happening. But is there a recession? Are we going to feel it like everybody is saying that we're going to feel it? Everybody is a little nervous right now. Now, I'm not nervous. Let me tell you why I'm not nervous about this, even if we go through a bit of a recession, because I think in the changing of hands, I agree with President Trump. In the changing of hands, something has to happen in that process. So when we look at the fact that Trump is putting up these tariffs. Now, Canada has been the most aggressive. Canada's like, we're going to turn your lights off. We're fighting back. Canada's got a new president coming in, and he's not having it, okay? So they're up in Ontario, and they're like, listen, we're about to shut them lights off down there for y'all. Okay, so it's something that we have to look at, but again, so Trump said, oh, you want to shut some lights off? We're going to give you a 50% tariff. How you like that? How you like me now? So Trump is playing hardball. And I know that we knew that he was going to play hardball, but let's look at this. The stock is going down, right? I think it's, let me see how many, it's a bunch of $1 billion that didn't hit the deck. $4 trillion since Trump has taken office has been lost out of the stock market. So people, everybody's a little nervous because they don't know what's going to happen and how Trump is going to really deal with these tariffs and all this, back and forth that he's saying. So people are pulling their money out. A lot of people are saying stick and stay because it's going to go right back up. I think that it's going to go right back up. So let's see what happens, but be careful with your money right now, people, because this is a little edgy area. So now look at also Elon Musk. Elon Musk lost about $174 billion, right, since working with Trump. So he's headlining with Trump. He's working in DC. He's not focused on Tesla and all that other stuff. So what we seen Trump went and bought a Tesla. Elon put out all his Tesla cars because I'm sure that Trump feels some type of way, like, my bad, Elon. I didn't know that they was going to go against us. And this world of politics is a little rough. And I know that you're not used to that with your money. So are they trying to bankrupt Elon so he's not the richest in the world, so Trump don't have to be on his squad like that no more? What's happening? So they had all of Elon Musk's cars, all the Tesla cars. They're tanking now, right, up front. But Elon has lost about $174 billion. Zuckerberg lost a bunch of money as well. He's in the billions, I think $7 billion. So people, and also the Amazon founder Bezos, he lost a bunch of money too. So is this something that we are supposed to expect? I think this is something that we are supposed to expect, but touting the last administration and how we were doing at the end of that last administration, putting up the best numbers in U.S. history. I think that it's just something that we got to go through, but I'm pretty sure in this Trump administration, Trump is not going to stop until we get this money right. So I don't think that we're going to go through a recession and then we're going to stay there and everything like that. He's looking at numbers that he's looking okay with these terrorists. Either they pull down their money for the terrorists, because Trump is like, listen, we've been having terrorists on us from these other countries for years, and they've been taking advantage of us, right? So when we send stuff out to these other countries, we play terrorists for them. So Trump is saying, let's put a reciprocal tariff on them and see how they like it. And now, instead of the United States just being freebies to everybody, let's turn that around and let's make that work for us. So that's where Trump is coming from with that. I don't know how you feel, but chime in. I'm at Jineea Butler on all of the mediums to see how you spell my name right there. And then also chime in to Millennium News 24 Facebook Live. And, you could just put your messages in there, and, we definitely will respond. And thank you for everybody that has been watching, that has been on board. Let me know who you are so I can definitely shout you out, right? But now here's the other thing. President Trump is still on, a firing frenzy. And so in Washington right now, President Trump just told 1,300 Department of Education staffers, take your laptops, stay home. There's a threat in the building. You can't come in. So everybody thinks that this is part of the firing piece that's going on. What do you think? I mean, listen, he said that this is what he was going to do. And so I always get upset when people turn around and say, well, I didn't know that he was going to do that. I didn't know that they was going to go down like that. And I lost my job. And so now what they did do, so remember, the first time that they told everybody, take your job and shove it, they said, we'll give you 8 months of severance pay up until September. We'll give you 8 months, full pay, full everything, if you go ahead and quit your job now, right? If you go ahead and take this buyout that we're giving you, they said, we'll give you 8 months on the books with your severance, with all of your stuff, right? Okay, great. So a couple people took that, but it wasn't the number that they wanted of people to do it. I think they wanted like 2 million people to do it. It's a bunch of people that working in DC, and they think that it's too much, and they're trying to crunch numbers and save us money so they can return that money to the American people. So we personally are looking at these people and say, oh my God, their jobs. But I'm looking at it and saying, okay, they're trying to crunch these numbers. These people's making 100,000 and better. Now, I don't want to take anybody's livelihood away from them, but those people in DC have been sitting pretty for a long time. And so they're just cutting that all out. And maybe on the next administration, it'll be different, right? But right now, he told 300 Department of Education staffers, Linda McMahon and everybody said, look, it's a security threat going on. Y'all can't come in the building. So we're going to take your laptops with you, and then we'll give you some orders on the next round. So we'll see what happens with that. Okay, also in the news, Columbia University had $400 million revoked from their education budget from the protest that happened last year about Israel-Palestine conflict. And so there was a Palestinian activist that they were looking to arrest behind this. So they took the $400 million from Columbia. Now that's going to hit, because Columbia University is a high-end Ivy League school. People in New York look at it like that. And so now they took a $400 million hit, which is large to any school, right? That would put an HBCU out of business. But so they take this hit, and as they take the hit, they try to arrest the activist. I forget his name. I'm sorry, I don't have his name. They try to arrest the activist that organized all this. And shout out to Sid Rosenberg on 77 WABC. He was one of the first that did an anti-Palestinian protest over at Columbia University, saying, let's not hurt the Jewish students. So what this $400 million revoke says is that you did not protect the Jewish students. Now, you know me, President Trump. You know I'm a new American with and we are the new Americans, right? So I want to speak to the congregation when I say, okay, if this is any other race and a college did not protect any other race on that college campus, would you be taking $400 million out of their budget? I need to know. And I'm asking for a friend because, again, that's good and all. But is it just for the Jewish people that you would do this for? $400 million? That's a lot. That seems a little personal. But now look, New York Mayor Adams said, look, Mayor Adams, let me say this, is not going to jail, okay? Because he's going to do whatever it is that he needs to do to stay out of jail. Let's be clear about that, okay? Mayor Adams is not going to jail. So he closed down the Roosevelt shelter after he spoke to Trump. Tom Homan came in. He's letting ICE set up. I don't know what's happening, whether ICE is on Rikers Island or not. We got to check into that. But he let ICE supposedly set up on Rikers Island. He said, y'all can go ahead and set up and start plucking all of the immigrants that are not supposed to be, that are illegal here. You can start taking them out and sending them to Guantanamo Bay or somewhere of the sort. I don't want to see any of it. But illegal is illegal, okay? So Mayor Adams said, listen, I can't stop ICE or anybody else from coming in to getting everybody, because they wanted Mayor Adams to stop to stop them from arresting and deporting the Palestinian activists that they thought that he was here on a student visa, but he's not here on a student visa. So Mayor Adams said, listen, I can't get in the way of that. Don't even ask me to get in the way of that, because that's against the law. And don't forget, I'm a cop. I'm one of the top cops in the land. Now, Mayor Adams flipping on us, because when he was running out in the middle of the streets at nights and hanging out, you didn't look like a top cop. You was out there talking about, I have a glass of Hennessy and whoop-de-whoop and whoop-de-whoop. He's not doing any of that anymore. Hasn't anybody seen Mayor Adams out at night having a drink? I think he's in the church at this point, praying for his blessings to come. So we've got a lot of stuff going on. We've got the tariffs. We've got Columbia University. We've got what else do we have here? We got the education staffers being fired, and people are alarmed and worried about this, President Trump. So I feel like these people, there's enough jobs in our network that you could go out and get a new job. Now, nobody wants to leave their job now. And I think also, let's also look at the folks that have been there, 20 years, and they got 4 more years to retire, and then you fire them. Leave those people on the job, because they did their job and they deserve to get their retirement as they plan for it. They don't deserve for you to come in and say, oh no, we want to fire you because we want to save money. No, I say, if you're going to take people out, take out the newcomers and take out people like that. But the people that are on their way to retirement, that is horrible, President Trump, unless you're going to give them an early retirement as if they were supposed to retire when they originally came in, right? So if they were going to do 20 years and then they came in and then they did 18 and then you want to fire them, give them their 20 years. Let's be reasonable, right? Let's be reasonable about what we're talking about, what we're going. So we knew that, working with President Trump, it was going to be some stuff. And so we've got Tesla, Elon losing all his money. How long is that relationship going to go on? We know President Trump actually chastised Elon last week when Mark Rubio told him, sit down and shut up. And Trump said, well, Elon, what we're going to do is we're going to allow the staffers to direct their house. So when we come back, we're going to talk more New American News. I'm talking to the congregation here. It's great to see you today. We're here on Millennium News 24, and I'll be right back. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jineea Butler for the New American News here on Millennium News 24. Shout out to Tofor Nor. Am I saying your name right? Shout out to this guy that owns this station. We love you, Nor. Get well very quickly, says the New American. Because you help so many lives and you help so many people, and we have to send our prayers during this Ramadan season. Let Allah protect you during this time. Too much prayers going on, so I know you're gonna be okay. Okay, so Hazel Dukes, former president of the NAACP of the state of New York, Hazel Dukes, passed away last week, and she had a funeral today that was just as festive at Mother AME Zion Church in Harlem. Packed house. Hillary Clinton was there. The Governor Hochul was there. So she had a showing, and her life has been a great showing. Somebody that I love dearly. She embraced me as a Republican woman running for Congress in Harlem, and I love her for that. I went on Capitol Hill and I met with her, and she was one of the Black women that were just fiery and somebody that I could look up to and say, I got that kind of spirit, and I don't want that spirit to ever die, because I don't think, I haven't seen her in this last year, but I don't think that she lost her spunk by the time that God took her and gave her wings. So Hazel Dukes, to a great life well lived of service, and thank you for all that you've done for the culture, the Black culture, and the culture of America. And you are American history, young lady, and till we meet again. Also, Roberta Flack passed away last week, and also in the Harlem community, they had a festive event, I believe on Monday evening, for Roberta Flack. Lauryn Hill and Wyclef Jean came in there and rocked the house. They had a concert. If you don't know, Roberta Flack sang "Killing Me Softly with His Words, killing me softly with his song, killing me softly with his no. And so Lauryn Hill and Wyclef, they done came in there and remixed it at the funeral. So I seen many beautiful peoples, Elias Shabazz, Santita Jackson, Reverend Jackson's daughter, Al Sharpton did the eulogy. Another festive event at Obsidian Baptist Church. So these ladies in Women's History Month had Harlem rocking this year, and shout out to them and their lives, Roberta Flack, Hazel Dukes, and also we lost Angie Stone tragically in a car accident on her way to the CIAA. A tractor trailer hit her vehicle, a van, and it flipped over. It was 9 people in the vehicle. Horribly, Angie Stone was the only one that passed away, and we love you, Angie, and love all the work that you've done. She wanted to be remembered as one of the pioneers of hip hop, because her hip hop song, I'm gonna funk you right on up, gonna funk you right on up, I'm gonna funk you right on up. I'm going to funk you right on up. Was an original song, and they were the first, I believe, to go gold as a hip hop unit, as a group. And she never got her real love from hip hop, because how hip hop people be sometimes, but she never got her real love from hip hop. So shout out to Angie Stone. And she had a baby by Rodney C. Rodney C was somebody who showed me love when I first got to Harlem, and helped me enter into the hip hop community to do all of the work that I did in hip hop. So I always have to say that the hip hop union started on the right foundation of what it was supposed to be, because Rodney C was the man, and he introduced me all the way in to hip hop. So shout out to Rodney C and his family, and also D'Angelo. She had 2 children, a daughter and a son with the singer D'Angelo. How does it feel? He was moving all slow and getting butt naked. And that was an Angie Stone creation. I don't know. But I have to give her that credit, because when we look back and say, oh, that was Angie showing all the women what she was working with at the time. Look good, Ange. So rest in peace to Angie Stone, the great legendary Angie Stone. And she was having a problem with our money as well, so she was in there. She was actually fighting Universal Records about her money. And see, this is all the things that we've got to talk about in the music industry, that a lot of these artists that did all of these works, they're not getting their residuals, and they're not getting the things that were due to them over a period of time. So now Angie Stone, rest in peace, she died fighting for her royalties and fighting for the money and publishing that was owed to her. So I hope Universal does something great for her and her family, and gives her family the residuals that she was looking for, so we know that it wasn't in vain. Okay. So that's what's happening there. And so now let's go to Mayor. Oh, excuse me, I'm calling him Mayor already. Former Governor Cuomo, we know, tapped in last week to the New York City mayor election. Okay, so now what's happening here? Okay, we know that Mayor Adams, and there's a whole host of other folks that are in the race, and I won't disrespect them by not talking about them, because I hated when I was running for office and nobody would talk about me, but I was running against the people. So let me tell you, I'm going to tell you in 1 second who are the other candidates for mayor in New York City. But anyway, Mayor Cuomo, he is facing opposition from 160 people who wrote a letter, elected officials, and I think 100, and a lot of them were district community leaders, but they're opposing his run for mayor. Okay, and they're saying that he's being self-centered, that he resigned under protests back in 2021, and we shouldn't be considering him for mayor, but he still got the lead. So it is we, the people, the elected officials, try to jump out every now and then and try to say exactly, what they think should be happening. But it is we, the people, that ultimately decide who, what, when, where, why. So when it comes to Governor Cuomo running, I don't know if this is going to push or prod anything going forward. But we also know that they did not say who they were going to support. And let me tell you who is running for mayor in New York City. Okay, so they got a bunch of stuff. So you've got let me see. Okay. Eric Adams. Okay. We know that. That's the current mayor of New York City. He's running again. He's not getting matching funds. So we're going to see how long it takes him. Now, the primary's in June. So these people that are running right now, and if you are interested in making sure that you're a part of it and you're not registered to vote in New York City, you need to go register to vote. Now, you can register to vote easily online, or you can get a paper ballot and send it in. Now, I'll tell you this, I sent in a paper ballot one time and it didn't go through. And that was during my election process. I don't know how that was possible. And they had disqualified me because I wasn't registered to vote in my new address. So you think I didn't do that? Okay. But I sent it in and thinking that that was the way to go. But I think that you either need to physically take it in or go online and put your information online to register to vote. It's very important. We all should be registered to vote. Okay, so we have Eric Adams, Andrew Cuomo, Brad Lander, Adrian Adams. Now they're saying Eric Adams and Adrian Adams are going to cause a stir when people are going to check their 1, 2s, and 3s, because we go with the ranked voting system in New York. And so they're going to go with their 1, 2, 3s on that. So I don't know how that's actually going to play out, but Eric Adams and Adrian Adams, they're saying that she's a strong candidate as well. Jessica Ramos, Zelhor Myri, excuse me if I'm saying that wrong, Zoran Mamadi, I think. Scott Stringer, who was the former controller of New York City. Michael Blake, who also worked with President Obama. He's in there. Jim Walden, Whitney Tilson, and Curtis Siwa. Okay, so Curtis is a Republican. And so these are all the people that are running for New York City mayor. But there's a June election for the Democratic primary. And right now, Curtis Siwa is the front runner, I believe, for the Republican nomination. And so they will be facing, some Democrat will be facing off Curtis Siwa, the guardian angel, in November. And now Curtis is a tough candidate, because Curtis, this is what we know about Curtis. We know that he's been in the streets of New York as long as we all can remember. We all older people know the guardian angels and what the guardian angels done, and what Curtis had his vision and carry out his mission years ago for New York City. So he resurrected with his wife. He resurrected the guardian angels and realized that under Mayor Adams, they needed extra surveillance when Mayor Adams cut the police force in New York City and on the train. So he has extra force patrolling areas and making sure New Yorkers are safe. And that is something to be valued, right? For a man that's not the mayor, because everybody else, they're not doing a job unless they're hired. Okay. But Curtis Siwa, he's out in the streets. And so, and he knows New York. He's been on Mayor Adams' butt for the duration of his election. He calls him a swagger man with no plan. And this is what he's been doing. Not so much swagger, still without a plan. Mayor Adams is sitting out toting his numbers, and he's saying, listen, I don't know what y'all talking about. New York City is on the rise. We up. You see my numbers up. Mayor Adams. Sometimes it's how we feel. And I think that right now we feel some type of way about New York, because we've seen New York absolutely clean. We've seen New York absolutely with, not that many homeless on the streets. And, under Bloomberg, he did his piece about getting the people off the street. We've seen that. So now what we're seeing now is just not saying that New York is safe, even though I'm not going to go against your numbers and I'm not going to go against what you're saying. I'm just saying, Mayor Adams, it doesn't feel that way. And then the congestion pricing, and then the 25 per hour speed limit and all the tickets. You're eating your citizens. And I don't think that is just for New York City. I think this is for the United States of America. We have to stop eating our citizens. Okay, you can't eat us up and charge us this and charge us that and expect that we're going to be okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to come back in another minute and we're going to talk about more New York City stuff, more world stuff, more national stuff, and what's going on around, because we are the new Americans, and I'm talking to the congregation. My name is Jineea Butler. I'm the New American, and this is the New American Perspective here on Millennium News 24. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Millennium News 24, your trusted source for accurate, unbiased news. We're here to bring you the stories that matter most from America and around the world, with integrity and a commitment to truth. In today's world, where misinformation can easily spread, having access to reliable news is more important than ever. At Millennium News 24, we aim to cut through the noise by delivering clear, fact-based reporting. Whether you're following major events or looking for in-depth analysis, we are here to serve you with transparency and respect for all communities regardless of color, wealth, or religion. This beautiful America was built by the resilience of its people, immigrants, entrepreneurs, doctors, and everyday individuals working together to create something great. It's this spirit that inspires us to provide you with news that's inclusive, honest, and relevant. We believe that informed citizens are the foundation of a strong society, and we strive to give you the knowledge you need to make a difference. From breaking news to insightful features, we bring you comprehensive coverage on politics, economics, health, culture, and much more. We believe that everyone deserves access to the truth, and we are proud to be a part of a global network that connects people through information. Stay informed by following us on your devices, including iOS, Android, Roku, Amazon, Apple TV, and Smart TVS. And for global access, we're also available on Horizon Satellite. Visit us at www.millenniumtv24.com or www.millenniumnews24.com to stay updated at Millennium News 24. Our mission is to promote unity, understanding, and progress in a rapidly changing world. Join us as we work to inspire positive action through the power of truth. Thank you for watching. Follow us, subscribe, and stay informed.
And we are back here on Millennium News 24. I'm your host, Jineea Butler, and this is the New American Perspective, where we get and we think about everything that's going on around us from a different perspective, and we're open to it, right? You know, because I know that, you know, the way I think and the way I see things, everybody thinks that I'm a conspiracy theorist. I might be just a little bit, but for good reason. So let's get into the fact that Governor Hochul, okay, you remember, I don't know if I talked about it in detail enough. I know I mentioned it, but the upstate, there was a strike from the correction officers who said that they were unsafe and they were having unsafe conditions and everything that was going on. So these correction officers walked off the job and left the inmates there to run the building. The inmates were running the building. How often do we get to say that for real in real life? You know, so the inmates were running the building. Governor Hochul said, this is illegal. You cannot allow these people to take over the jail. And, you know, that is a little dangerous going on right now. And so I don't know what happened with the inmates, but I know those officers that walked off and did not come back, they were fired. And Governor Hochul says, you'll never work in New York State again as a correction officer. I would say probably for the city after you did that. But what about the conditions that they were working under? They said that they were in danger. Their lives were in danger. That they were working 24-hour shifts sometimes, getting no sleep, 48-hour shifts sometimes, and getting no sleep. So are we looking at that as well? Because everybody should have the right to strike, but you're in a job that you don't have a right to strike because you're 24-hour surveillance over violent and people that are being contained. So I believe that you must not have that right to strike, but they did, and they got fired. So let's hope these people that got fired and the conditions also changed, Governor Hochul. Do not overlook what they're saying. It's very dangerous. I worked on Rikers Island, which is not a prison that's upstate, and they tell me that it's 10 times worse. And if I felt unsafe and I was a civilian on Rikers Island, I worked in the SED program. The Bloomberg administration eliminated the SED program when I worked there. But I worked there for about 2-3 years, and it was a dangerous place to work. Now, Rikers Island, as we see it now, is it's a little rough, okay? It's a little rough on the island right now because asbestos all over the place. I know a bunch of people who got cancer behind working on Rikers Island. Now, I don't know if they're putting the 2 and 2 together, but when you see a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of workers end up getting cancer, I think that you need to look at it. And it's a mess now from when I worked there. I worked there back in 2001, around that time. And now that's 25 years ago. And I went there to visit, and they look like they haven't done anything at the anything to upgrade the space or not. But they're looking in 2027 to close down Rikers. But, that would be great and all if you were looking to free the people as well. But are you just going to close down Rikers and move the inmates somewhere else? Does that really matter? It matters because the inmates won't be getting sick as a result of being on Rikers Island. And so young people, this is another reason why you don't need to go to jail, because it's a hazard to your health. They are not caring for you properly in these places. So we do not need you going in there, catching cancer, getting stabbed or something from inmates running the building and everything like that. You got to stay out the way, young people. Please, please, please. Okay. So the prison officers were fired. In the Bronx, they reopened it was a big migrant shelter. I think it was like 1,000-bed migrant shelter. Let me look that up, because that's a big shelter. That's like, what do you call it? That's like, Bellevue Hospital, which is the intake shelter for homeless. How many beds? Let me look this up. How many beds are in the Bronx shelter? Wow, you don't even want me to tell you. 2,200 bed migrant shelter opened in the South Bronx. So now that's a setup, right? Because if Mayor Adams is letting ICE come in, right, to New York City and go ahead and move around like he's moving, if Mayor Adams is doing that, and then you put 2,200 in the Bronx, and the Bronx residents are like, what are y'all talking about? How y'all gonna move these people into our neighborhood and say that we are safe? So I don't know about Mayor Adams becoming the mayor again, because now Cuomo is talking about, listen, what I want to do is I want to put 5,000 new police back on the streets. Now, we're not talking about why Mayor Adams originally cut them out from the beginning, but Cuomo said, listen, that's what I'm going to do for you. So if you rocking, this is what we could do. Well, I'm going to put 5,000 new police on the streets and keep you safe. F what you heard. This is what we doing. Now, I haven't heard what Cuomo is going to do about the immigrants and the migrants situation. He has kind of stayed away from whether he's letting ICE in, whether he's working with Donald Trump, because him and Trump actually have a love-hate relationship on some New York stuff. I think Cuomo is a real Italian, and Trump is a little Irish. And so how that gangs in New York go, okay? So we got to see how that's going to play out in the news. Okay. What else did I have to say about that? So what else? I just want to before I switch gears, because I want to talk about basketball. I am a former semi-professional basketball player, played for Long Island University, Brooklyn. Shout out to the Blackbirds, and shout out to the Blackbirds. LIU is now the LIU Sharks. Shout out to them. They made it to the semifinal round of the Northeast Conference and ultimately lost to St. Francis of Pennsylvania, who just beat Central Connecticut in the Northeast Conference. So we will be seeing, and I think March Madness starts at the Garden this week. I've seen a bunch of brackets going on, and so we will be seeing a lot of basketball in the next coming weeks. And so I just wanted to make sure that when I was talking about New York City, that I had covered everything. And but let me say that Ukraine, they have agreed with Mark Rubio to a ceasefire deal, 30 days ceasefire. So now we got to wait for Putin and see what Putin is talking about, because Putin is on his too. Trump is talking about, let's take out all the nuclear weapons, because Russia and America can blow it up, and we're not looking for that to happen. So Putin, we waiting for you, Pooh. We waiting to see what you're talking about. Let's take this 30 days and show the world what they could have done years ago, and the money that we didn't spend. So now the pockets and the purses are opening up again for Ukraine. So President Trump, he's not as bad as he acts. He acts a little, bullyish at first, but that's because he wants to get in the power situation. I'm not going to say that he's not a power dude, but he is understanding. And I think that he opens up after, he bullies you a little bit. So let him bully you a little bit and then get to your bottom line. Okay. Let him say what he's going to say. He want to say what he want to say off the top of his mouth. Let him go ahead and say that. And then we come down. Now we're looking at a 30-day ceasefire between Ukraine and Russia. So let's see how that works. Let's see how Putin turns out on that. Now, what I wanted to talk to you about, again, I wanted to talk to you about a few things before I got into entertainment news, and I just want to make sure let me just say this. So Lee Zeldin, who is the Environmental Protection Agency secretary that Trump hired out of New York. He was a former congressman out of New York. Shout out to Lee Zeldin. Lee Zeldin had talked about a bunch of money, $20 billion, I think it was $40 billion altogether, that the Biden administration said a former staffer, Brett Efron, said that they were throwing gold bars off of the Titanic before it sank and the Biden administration got out of here. And so they were throwing it to their people. And a lot of money went to the Climate United Fund, $7 billion. And also affirmed that Stacey Abrams, $2 billion was going to Stacey Abrams and what she was doing. Remember, Stacey Abrams ran for governor of Georgia, and she did all of that voting stuff and tried to win governor of Georgia. She was unsuccessful twice, but she did very well, and she did a lot of that work. And so, what is we talking about, Stacey? So now Lee Zeldin said that he's following the books. This is taxpayer money that we're talking about. And, these Republicans are conservative. This is what a Republican talks about when they say that they're conservative. It's like, look, we trying to save money. We're not just trying to frivolously spend money wherever you want to throw money. And so he asked that the banks return the money that the Biden administration sent to their buddies. So let's see how that's going to work. Let's see how Lee is going to do. If you remember, Lee was big with Trump on the last go round, and he was out with Trump, and he was pushing. And, Trump, he definitely He definitely honored all the people that stomped with him, gave them jobs. Even Byron Donalds, he gave him his green thumb of approval to run Florida. So Byron Donalds, the black congressman out of Florida, is now running for Florida governor. DeSantis, I thought before, wow, is he running against DeSantis? But DeSantis is term limited, and DeSantis's wife is running for governor in his place. So DeSantis don't want to go nowhere. He said, just put my wife in. DeSantis did a good job for Florida. And so now we're going to see how Byron Donalds, it looks like he has a straight ride to the basket. He is up in the polls there in Florida. So only something magical that comes and happens that stops him may stop him. But now, we're going to go to a break here on the New American Perspective on Millennium News 24. I'm your host, Jineea Butler, and we'll be right back with some entertainment news.
Hello viewers, you are watching Millennium News 24. America and global villages Saint America independence built by immigrants, manufacturers, roads, highways, educations, healthcare, IT, scientists, space, business development to all thousands of multimedia and all major social media platforms and news network in America. Millennium News 24, one of truthfully news networks in America and global news organizations. Please watch, follow and subscribe. We are in iOS and Android devices, Roku, Amazon, Apple devices, all smart TV, globally Horizon satellite, social media Millennium News 24, Millennium TV 24. Website www.millenniumnews24.com and www.millenniumtv24.com. Thank you.
And we are back for our last segment of the New American News. My name is Jineea Butler, and I'm your host here on Millennium News 24. And it was great to be with you today. And let's talk about our last news. Shout out to A.B. Butler, my co-host on the G-Check. He is okay. He had brain surgery last week. He is up, walking and talking. I spoke to him physically yesterday. He's walking, talking, remembering, back to his old self. So shout out to A.B. Butler. That's a courageous young man in my bloodline. Shout out to the Butler gang, my guy. Okay, so Steph Curry, you know Steph Curry, he's on the San Francisco, what was it, the Warriors, the Oakland Warriors before, right? And so the Golden State Warriors, I think they changed it to San Francisco now because they went across the bridge from Oakland to San Francisco and all of that kind of stuff. So Stephen Curry, one of the greatest three-point shooters, and they're saying arguably one of the best players in NBA history, is a new investor in the Unrivaled Basketball League in its first season. Okay, so this Unrivaled Basketball League, it little mimics, let me say it out loud, Ice Cube, it mimics obviously Ice Cube's Big Three, which he's been working on for years. Ice Cube changed the basketball game when he broke into this. Ice Cube, a hip-hop rapper from the group NWA, movies, has done great entrepreneur, great things. But this basketball league of bringing great players back to life with having a half on half 3-on-3 game, half court 3-on-3 game has been magnificent. And so now Unrivaled, they have it looks like it's a smaller court. They're playing 3-on-3 full court basketball as well. And so some of the WNBA players, it was founded by the WNBA stars Breanna Stewart and Naphasia Collier. Okay, and so the WNBA hasn't said much about this. They were fighting big with Ice Cube during the time, but they haven't said much about this at all. So we've got Stephen Curry. He's a new investor, right? But let me tell you I thought it was interesting. Let me tell you about some of the other investors in Unrivaled. And I think that this is just opening up more things. And then we go back to Kobe and what Kobe was trying to do in his lifetime, right? We said that, some people thought that he was blown up in the helicopter because he was trying to go outside the NBA and he didn't want to be an NBA owner. Right, in the NBA, he wanted to open up his other league and take it European. And so now these players are doing it. And so now these players are following suit. Let's look at some of the people that are in Unrivaled. You got Carmelo Anthony. First of all, they raised $35 million. They had an initial offering of $7 million, and then they ended up raising $35 million for the league this year. And it's not that many players in it. So I think that's pretty good because I think that they're, divvying that up between the players. So now players like Angel Reese, we'll talk about her in a second, is talking that hot stuff about the WNBA, talking about if we don't get paid, then we not playing. Okay. And so let me tell you about the players. So you got Carmelo Anthony. His son is going off to Syracuse this year. Congratulations to Keon Anthony and Lala Anthony for following in his father's footsteps. Great young man, great young boy that is going to be great in the NBA soon. Stay healthy. I think he hurt himself in this last run in his senior year, but he already committed to Syracuse. Him and his father got on the same jerseys. Very cute, right? You got Giannis. I can't say his last name. It's very hard. You got the tennis star Coco Gauff. She's also invested in Unrivaled. You got Michael Phelps, the Olympian, the swimmer. Michael Phelps. You have Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis, his wife, right? You have Dawn Stanley, the great Dawn Stanley out of Philadelphia, the greatest college coach of all times at this point, the highest paid college coach, let's say that too. And all her players are going to the league from getting off of her bench or off of her of under her coaching abilities. They taking them Dawn Stanley girls out of South Carolina now. And then you have Gino Ariamo out of Connecticut, who also, very interesting, is a supporter of the Unrivaled League. So again, Angel Reese, she's out here talking about on her podcast, listen, I don't get paid enough money to live off a WNBA salary. So they're going to have to come up, or some of us are going to sit out. But here's the problem with that, Angel. And this is the problem that we all have to take a real look at. The WNBA has not been profitable since they started. Now, they started back when 1996, when I was still in college, and I went out for the WNBA, made the reserve team of the WNBA. But I looked at it and I said, listen, they were offering us $5,000 for the summer, and it's always been a young amount, right? I think the highest players at that point, Cheryl Smoops, and Tina. Don't get me wrong. No disrespect to the girls of the league, but let's say Cheryl Swoops and Teresa Witherspoon and all those top women who were coming back from overseas might have been receiving, $50,000, and then it went up to $100,000. So the cap is like, Angel Reese is getting $75,000 a year. That's a regular job, to play WNBA basketball. But let's look at all the other perks. So with all of the advertisements and things of that nature, they get a pretty penny. But now here's the problem, the NIL. So now people like Angel Reese are coming out of college and they're saying, listen, I just was making $3 million a year for the last 4 years. 75,000 ain't going to cut it. So the WNBA needs to create a nil-like fund for its players as well. I think that why can't you do that? I mean, if these players in college can receive that kind of money, then you're going to have to step your game up. So shout out to Angel Reese in pushing the envelope forward. The women have been waiting for such a thing. So Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, everybody, Juju Watkins, who's now in college, she just beat Caitlin Clark's 2-year scoring record at USC. So Juju Watkins is going to be somebody that we're going to see in the future. And shout out to them because they're raising the bar. And I'm definitely a pioneer of women's basketball on the professional level, fought for it, played for it, tried out, did all the things that I needed to do. But I've ultimately felt that business was where I wanted to go. That's where I focused my attention during my college career. So I didn't, if the money wasn't right, I didn't want to, I wasn't going to be old enough now. Look, I'm almost 50 now, and the players are just now talking about getting some real money behind it. So I wouldn't be playing now. So, I said, I'm going to let the girls, I'm a champion. I did all my stuff. And, and now the WNBA is looking real fancy. Women are looking, fly as ever, whatever your, whoever you choose to love, women is fly. And that's what we're looking at. Okay. And so we said the WNBA has not made a profit. So what do you think about that? Should the people be raising the prices in the stands, raising the price for all the stuff when you come to the games, or should they just be making sure that kids have a place to come see women play basketball? The NBA is picking up the tab, so I don't see why that's a problem, at this point. And the women are starting to be looked at as high. We had the highest numbers this year in the NBA, in the WNBA, of people watching WNBA basketball. We're looking at Angel Reese and everything like that. So Angel Reese has kept herself in the limelight, and she knows how to do this because of this NIL. So we're going to see more people. You see Juju Watkins, she's doing insurance commercials, okay? And so it's going to get bigger. And so that means she's getting big money for that. And now players can get paid while they're in college. So the WNBA is going to have to come up with something. Now, the other news, Serena Williams, she just now became an part owner of the WNBA expansion team going to Canada. So Serena, congratulations to you, and thank you for supporting women's basketball and women's sports. Shout out to women in Women's History Month. March is Women's History Month. If you didn't know, we've been talking about a lot of women's stuff. But let's go in our last final minutes and talk about my guy, Stephen A. Smith. Now, I told you last week what Stephen A. was up to. Didn't I tell you that you better tell people where you're getting your news? Okay, because I know that y'all are chiming in. We see the numbers. We see what's going on. So I know that y'all are chiming in. And so last week I talked about Stephen A. making a bait and switch and now going from sports casting to political. And so he sees the lane to the basket. I'm not mad at you, Stephen A. Leave a couple crumbs on the table for the rest of us. So Stephen A., I told you last week that his friends in the NBA is not so strong. And I know Stephen A. is chiming in on your girl right here because he's taking notes, okay? So Stephen A. last week got confronted by LeBron James, of all people. So LeBron James, he's hailing about 6'8". Stephen A. about I say that he's about 6 foot. I'm going to give him 6 foot. So LeBron James standing over top of him and say, yo, leave my son alone. That's my son. Leave my effing son alone. He didn't do the hands and all that, but he stood over top of him and let the world know, don't mess with my son. And I think LeBron, he was more upset about what was going on with his son than what was going on with Stephen A. Because everybody is talking about his son not being in not being good for the NBA. But like I said, Stephen A ran up on him. And lastly, a young lady bust another little girl upside the head with a baton while she was in high school. So she bust this little girl upside the head with this baton while they were running track, and the girl has a skull fracture and she's all bleeding in the head and everything like that. And the young lady said, listen, I really didn't do it. It really wasn't me. But if you look at it, what I think is the girl had a slight moment of insanity, and she went in and she was tripping a little bit, and the girl was running next to her and bust her upside their head and then just kept it moving, if you ask me. I mean, look at the video yourself. It's all over social media, so you check out the video. Then we've got Wendy Williams. Shout out to Wendy Williams. Wendy Williams is about to get out of that conservatorship. She's been banging on the windows. If you've seen her, she's been on the side of the window. Help, help. She threw a note out the window the other day and said, help me, Wendy. And so now they took her to the hospital, and she passed her test, right, on her cognitive abilities and skills. So it looks like she may be getting out of this conservatorship. But now I'm going to say to everyone who is shouting for, I'm a former drug counselor, always will be. Now, she has a drug and alcohol problem. When Maria Scotto from Pix 11 asked her if she would take a sober companion, she said, I don't need one. Now, that is a red flag in my book, because I think that more so than anything, Wendy's problems stem from drugs and alcohol. So let's be careful on what we're pushing and if we're really helping Wendy, because she might be cognitive, but I think that she wants to drink, because she said, listen, I'm going to have a drink when I want to have a drink. And grown women can have that. But if you're going to kill yourself, Wendy, we need to step in. So I'm going to say that that's all we've got. Oh, lastly, let me just say, Dr. Umar, I always talk about Dr. Umar. Dr. Umar was recently in the news over his daughter saying that she has no relationship with him. Now, Dr. Umar is a famous psychologist, a blogger online. He's telling that he has 18 million viewers on Instagram a month. And so he is saying that she is saying that she has no contact with him. Now, the reason why that counts is because Dr. Umar always looks and talks about young kids and the families, and he's building this school, Marcus Garvey Academy out in Delaware, and he goes out and he talks to families on how you work with your kids, but you don't have a relationship with your kids. It's an oxymoron. So, New Americans, my congregation, my time has come to an end. I love you. I look forward to seeing you next week on the New American Perspective. Chime in, give me a call, let me shout you out, okay? And if you want to come on the show, DM me, Instagram at Jineea Butler. Look forward to seeing you. Shout out to everyone. Shout out to the world. And I salute, and I'm out of here. This is Jineea Butler, the New American Perspective on Millennium News 24. Mwah.